24 Killers is one of the most unique experiences I've ever had. It's difficult to put into words, but I've played adventure games, I've played life sims, and despite being a mix of the two, this game manages to create such a one-of-a-kind feeling that I absolutely adored. I want to preface before I get too far into this, if you like the idea of a game that's super laid back but also abundantly weird, then you need to just go play this already. Don't sit here and wait on me to prattle on. Before we get into his creation, let's talk about the developer of 24 Killers really quick. Happy Shabby Games is run by one Todd Luke, and despite not knowing a ton about Todd, I must make it clear, this dude rules. Todd's been making projects for over a decade now, with this game in particular being his biggest effort, getting backed on Kickstarter all the way back in 2014. Mr. Luke didn't create this final product entirely single-handedly, but this one-man band put together so much of this game all by his lonesome, and I absolutely adore his efforts. Programming, visuals, audio, story, what can't this dude do? Speak Portuguese, apparently, but he's still a phenom of a developer, and it shows throughout everything 24 Killers presents. Also, one more brief aside as we start discussing the things this game actually presents. I'm going to try my best to explain things, but if I haven't made it abundantly clear by having the most thematically complex game I've covered be Pokémon channel, I'm very stupid. I don't intend on getting too deep into the plot as is, because I think it's best experienced yourself anyway, but this game's got a lot of interesting narrative tidbits with aspects of religion and war sprinkled into the adventure of an endearing rambling corpse, and I'd be remiss if I just said the wrong things and painted Happy Shabby Games' work in a way that just wasn't accurate. So, I'll do my best to give you an introduction, and your job is to go figure out the rest yourself. Got it? Good, because if you don't, you're gonna miss out on the sun staring at you like this, and I'd hate for you to miss that. The game opens up to a dogman named Johnny staring at his love Annie, until a weird squid creature known as Moon asks him to summon the Echo. We then cut to Moon and her companion Mole sitting on a beach awaiting the arrival of this life form. It doesn't take long for the unsightly specter to appear and inhabit a corpse in the sand. This is home, and let me tell you, they didn't take kindly to being woken up, as one of the first things they do is punch Mole and then start threatening Moon. Before ultimately getting absolutely blasted by Moon's eye laser. Oops! Home later awakes to Mole telling them the situation. You're on a deserted island, you live in a shed now, and you need to report to the squid god alien thing in the morning. Also, here's some stew. You better eat it. But yeah, this here's a god squid. Moon is a daughter of the creator of this multiverse known as the Husbandman. He's also the lord of the entire foam, which is essentially all of creation. Moon is what's known as a builder, a being whose purpose is to seed a new universe and help take care of its inhabitants. Essentially, you can think of it as there being a god who creates everything and then he entrusts all of his children with the universe to nurture. Meeting with Moon, we establish the last few key details before we can get to work, being that as an Echo we hail from the void, where neither light nor darkness resides, and that we bear a curse. But that's okay, because Moon's going to build us a proper vessel to chill in, and all we have to do is find a way to help the monsters on this island and find a way to destroy the curse. You later discover that in saving Mons, as they're called, it begins to weaken your curse and serves as the key to rid yourself of it entirely. Well, hot damn. You're telling me I can go back to being a big old pile of nothingness and all it takes is chatting up random freaks and menial labor? This sounds like the minimum wage job that all teenagers and drug addicts dream of. Sign me up! The game then starts in earnest. In the early stages of the adventure, it's pretty simple. Use the limited energy you have to bring up an elevator and rescue the Mons one at a time from the bunker they're holed up in. Once you've done so, you're then tasked with helping them with whatever they need in order to get to know them better and eventually befriend them. Helping the Mons usually involves some sort of small puzzle, quest, or minigame. Most of the time you aren't asked to go particularly out of the way to accomplish these, such as with the first Mon, Oyaji. His task sees you battle him in a squatting video game, where you simply have to outmuscle him a few times, and after doing so, Oyaji gets so mad that he tosses that damn thing across the island. As you find more Mons, you'll be tasked with helping stack boxes, escorting ghosts around an RC car, showing your athletics by running fast and kicking a ball in the air. Hell, sometimes you even have to take part in the squatting minigame again, both added rules to up the difficulty. By and large, the missions the people give you are laid out in such a way that you'll cycle through the different types the game has to offer without repeating the same thing over and over, often not asking a ton of intensive commitment to accomplish either, save for the occasions where you may have to go hunt down an item that you don't already have on you. Keeping every Mon's requests as simple as they are may sound like they could get boring after a while, but at the same time 24 Killers is very smart about keeping the player from experiencing the same type of task too often. Coupling that with the repeated tasks always having some new wrinkle to them, it never gets too samey. Besides maybe the box stacking task, but that one's also by far the easiest and fastest to complete, so it's not a particularly big deal. It also helps itself out by having all of the Mons be so charming. Even though you don't spend much time with any individual mon, they're all so well written that even in their limited dialogue, I can think of something that all of them said that brought some sort of smile to my face. To hammer the point home, I'm gonna bring up Oyaji again. As he's the very first mon that you meet, he's your first real impression of what the creatures of this island are going to offer you. And what does he do with that opportunity? Well, it's simple. He bums cigarettes off you, he makes you do a squatting one-on-one against him, and then after it's all said and done, he rage quits so hard that you bond with him over it. Ridiculous is the name of the game with these mons, and so many of them take great advantage of their limited screen time to really pop. Cats that know government secrets that they aren't willing to share because they just don't really like you all that much. The ghost of the soldier who once was the corpse home pilots who just love saying bro. Even the mons of the island you don't rescue from the bunker like Mole and Gunther all manage to just make you fall in love with their little quirks and attributes so fast. This life sim aspect of the game is handled beautifully. You really want to help these guys out with what they're going through, not just to be free of your curse, but also to see what kooky critter is going to come out from the underground next. Of course, curse banishing and meeting new faces isn't all helping people gets you. There's also the matter of taking the mon's pictures. These pictures can be returned to Moon to increase your energy and give you new abilities. With a quick press of a button, you can pull up a wheel of 6 different skills that the mons can provide. There's strength, speed, gliding, disguising, ghost powers, and fast travel. The first 5 of these are used to solve puzzles and help you to more easily navigate the island as you progress, and I really like how these are utilized for the most part. Strength helps you to move objects around the screen, which can be done to press switches or block streams of heat. Speed helps greatly in cutting down time spent walking to different ends of the island and is used in a neat pseudo-boss fight. Gliding is used to reach areas that are otherwise inaccessible and to travel distances on streams of wind. Ghost has clever applications in pressing switches and navigating some puzzle rooms, and Disguise, well, it's used like once to bypass explosive robotic mice and that's it, but man, I was the best piece of shit ever, let me tell you. It's a really fun part of the adventure when you unlock another one of these skills, because it pretty much always spells something on the island opening up to you that before you either couldn't reach easily or in most cases at all. If I can nitpick one thing though, it's how upgrades are handled. Each of the 24 mons you help is split into one of these 6 categories, and as such, each skill has 4 different levels, or at least that's what the game says, because I'm pretty sure for most of these this doesn't amount to much. Speed gets an upgrade after acquiring the second stage of it to raise your cap from 30 miles per hour to 45, and each fast travel stage unlocks another fast travel point in your map, but the other 4 I'm pretty sure amount to new costumes and what feels like little else. It's not a particularly big deal, seeing as each upgrade still gives you another costume, and those can net you cute little dialogue exchanges, plus each run isn't long enough to really need a bunch of big changes to the skills either. It's just something I noticed. I do really want to stress how great these elements are for making the gameplay as fun as it is though. Meeting the mons and reaping the benefits of your kindness is so neat, and the ways in which it opens up the island are always fresh and exciting. Speaking of, I love this world. It's not the biggest, but there's something neat on nearly every screen that makes everywhere feel distinct and like there's a benefit to going there every day. It also does a wonderful job of feeling lived in, especially as you bring more and more mons to the surface. It's a living, breathing world where you'll see people congregate to play ball games, have coffee, or even bathe in a mysterious temple. This can't be clean. This island is just so pleasant, easily one of my favorite video game worlds in recent memory. The game also incentivizes exploration with another element, whispers. As the game describes, whispers are similar to echoes, except instead of wanting to possess things, whispers want to be in your possession. So, what do they do once you have them? Well, they're a currency. Across the island are several shops, and all are fluent in wanting your hard-earned soul cash. From food to key items to a straight-up gacha game, you will need a lot of whispers throughout the adventure, and 24 Killers provides plenty of means to get them. Each day, every screen will give you some sort of challenge to earn some money. These can be running through rings, juggling a sword, or even just picking them up off the ground like a lucky penny. At first, I was only getting a few from each challenge, but in time I came to realize 2 things that make money so much easier to come by. One, I was just a big dumb idiot and wasn't realizing I needed to actually do more than the bare minimum to get whispers. Those rings, if you speed up before you go through them, you get way more. Each whisper challenge is like this, giving you some amount for doing them, but if you really take time to get better with the skills, the game rewards you by putting more money in your pocket. It's great stuff. Besides the daily tasks to get more whispers, there is of course another amazing option to get a ton of these suckers. Gambling, baby! Aw, yeah! Uh-oh. Maybe next time. You can also get whisper multipliers from various activities to increase your whisper gain. Some multipliers come from food, and others you get from having mons come visit you at your house. And in order to do that, you will need to get furniture from the gacha system, which also has the benefit of letting my shed become a lavish one-room studio, with a hole in the floor, and a back room that kinda blew up. But I also have a really cool pet shrimp next to my assault rifle, and I don't pay rent, so I think I'm still coming out on top in the end. Also, while we're steadily discussing the topic of Homestead and Holmes Homestead, let me take a moment to just say that I love this character. Holmes starts off as such a sassy bitch who just can't wait to get this over with, and while their desire to go hop in the new vessel and not have to think anymore never truly goes away, you can see them grow over the journey. The way they interact with the Mons and Moon grows softer as they help more and more of them, and it's so charming to see play out. I'm also a big fan of Holmes' design. Okay, well maybe not so much their design. This hand's a little too slithery for my tastes. Mine don't do that. But the one they borrowed from a corpse is great. This soldier rocks one slick purple suit, and the way Home waddles around is so precious. The game is really good with giving Home funny moments in general, like when the day ends and they just absolutely slump into bed. Alright, I've beat around the bush long enough, it's time for me to address the elephant in the room. This game's presentation is weird, but it's a good weird. This art style is a gorgeous mixing pot of pre-rendered 3D, pixel art, photorealism, and each element just blends together wonderfully. It's like a PS1 game that was remastered in some way, but instead of trying to modernize the art style, they just took all of the original assets and upscaled them. And that aesthetic is my absolute favorite part about this game. Everything about it is brilliantly original and unique, finding cohesion in the unorganized chaos of the contrasting styles at play. Like, here's a moment where I'm in Moon's ship, right? There's Home, a 3D pre-rendered bush with big eyes, a photorealistic trash can with a big tongue, and Oyaji, among other Mons. And despite so many different aesthetics, in the moment everyone feels like they belong together, and it's so cool. I can't sing my praises enough about how much I like how this game looks. I know that it's probably not for everybody just because of the bizarre nature of everything that may be off-putting to some, but if you like what you see here, there's plenty more to look at. Another part of the presentation that's equal parts unique and phenomenal, the music here is so good. There's a lot of atmospheric tracks here. It doesn't try to be too in your face, and yet despite that, it's a deeply memorable soundtrack. One of my favorite aspects of the soundtrack has to be Todd Luke just making noises over some of the songs. The main song you'll hear while wandering around the island features these vocals, and it's super good. Some other great tracks are all of them, but if I had to pick a couple more to highlight, take a listen to Moon, Dreamy, and Home Wake Up. They're all excellent and well worth a listen. I'm gonna skip ahead a bit now. I don't want to spoil much more of the story here because I think this game is well worth your time and money, so I'm going to speak in somewhat vague terms for a bit. Near the end of your adventure, you get tasked with a mission that requires a lot of whispers, about 3,000 in total. At first, this seemed rather daunting to me, since most whisper challenges were giving me somewhere between like 40 to 80 depending on what I was doing, but then I realized how effective food actually was. Namely Shabstars. This delectable drink boosts your whisper multiplier at the cost of increasing how much energy you burn. However, you can only drink 5 a day before it cuts you off. Or does it? Well, that's when I discovered how good coffee could be. Slam down a latte and bam, all my food slots are emptied out. Now I can rinse repeat as many times as I want. And if I do it on a blood moon, well, that whisper multiplier is doubled already. This will come at a trade-off, of course, since my energy depletes faster than I can blink, but my energy doesn't deplete anytime the game is paused. And you know what you can do to earn a lot of whispers while your game is paused? That's right, it's gambling, baby! Woo! Yeah, baby, I love to gamble. This is the best thing ever. Oh god, I overdid it a little. Ah well. With that done, we can go ahead and finish up the last few tasks and see the credits roll. For the first time, 24 Killers has one last stroke of genius to encourage replaying the adventure. This is something the game tells you about immediately, but it felt right to talk about once we actually wrapped on the journey. You see, each save file has a special gift from the husbandman attached to it that you can then apply to your next playthrough. Some are quality of life, some provide new side quests. It's unbelievably cool. I will fully admit, I didn't mess with this feature a ton, seeing as there's 24 of these, and that means playing the game 24 times, which I simply didn't have the time to do. But the fact that they try to provide some incentive beyond just re-experiencing the game is a great idea, and it's something I wish that I saw more games implement. I really hope I've made it clear by now. I like 24 Killers a lot. It's such a one-of-a-kind experience that feels like it does everything it sets out to do without any major hiccup. And it's just something that's so unbelievable to me that I beg you to give it a try. It's usually $20, which I think is a more than fair price, but I did see them express interest in running sales on it more frequently, so keep your eyes out if you're not comfortable with that price tag. Whatever you do, if you saw anything here that made you think, yeah, I should give this a shot, please do. I cannot emphasize enough. You'll never experience anything else like it. I was such a cool piece of shit.